everybody. We are back. We have survived Halloween, but don't worry, the Halloween good vibes haven't ended. Kyle, I have to applaud you actually on this pick because it is about
it's seasonal
stuff happening on November 1st, November 2nd, and it is coming out on November 2nd, which is
Did you not see
pretty...
the Slack when we decided on this?
No, I missed that.
This is how it happened.
Yeah,
this is 1,000,000% how
this is how the world ends, Scott. Not with a bang, but with a whimper. Scott, I also have to apologize to you because I think that when we talked about The Convent, I made a comment of there has never been a film that there was less information on the internet about. And
there you go.
It's been one-upped by Kyle. This movie had a single IMDb trivia fact, that this was one of the actress's first movies. That was the only trivia fact.
I would never have known. That is such a shock to me, guys.
Not even a Wikipedia page for this movie. This movie, as far as the internet is concerned, doesn't exist.
For that and many other things, I do have to apologize. Particularly that for our viewers, listeners, however you're listening and taking this. I'm sorry that but you can always reach out to me. I will get you a version of this that you can watch.
Yeah, what led to you picking this?
Well, so it was on Slack. I totally forgot, Scott. So I'm glad that you said that. It was on Slack. So if you're not part of that, you can go over to our Patreon, patreon.com/HMN podcast. Correcto mundo.
Yeah, you'll immediately become a member of the page of the Slack.
And and we talk about a bunch of stuff on there. There's a general chat. We talk wrestling, books, accompanying drinks, if there's any horror themed beers or cocktails or anything. So it's a fun place to be. I just found this movie on DVD for I think $1, and it was called Tequila Body Shots at my favorite place, the Book Barn. They have $1 DVDs. I was like, Joey Lawrence, who I also realized I didn't know who. I just know the name, but upon further review, not anybody who I really actually recognized.
Yeah, you were thinking of Matthew Lawrence, so most definitely.
Probably, yes, yeah. Joey Lauren Adams, which is not even, way off.
No, it's actually, it's 2/3. It's basically the same person.
It's pretty close.
Dude,
but
this movie,
it is
I knew we were in
crazy.
trouble. I hit play, and this music, the first 5 minutes is just a piano looped over and over and over again. And these guys are having a conversation, and I came to a conclusion, and nothing in this movie changed my mind on this conclusion. There was no second draft on this script.
Oh, you think there was a script?
Yeah. Oh, there is a script. I believe that someone sat down and scripted this thing out. Yeah. Do I think that they showed that script to anybody before filming and got notes and made any changes? Because there is zero world where this movie needs to be over 90 minutes. The fact that, it's only a couple minutes over 90 minutes, but this should be like a 70-minute movie if ever there was one.
Dude,
Why couldn't this have been a Full Moon production?
Yeah, Full Moon would have cut this down to the bare essentials.
Yeah, they would have. So for the uninitiated,
which is literally everyone who's listening to this.
We're going to have to actually tell the story of what happens in the movie,
which is kind of nuts because I'm not entirely sure how, but
no, I can tell exactly what happened because it's 90 minutes with so little plot.
It's true.
It's a bunch of people end up going to Tijuana. That's all you need to know. The stories of these people matter nothing. They eat bad burritos, get food poisoning,
fish tacos,
whatever. They go to see a doctor who then gives Joey Lawrence a special bottle of tequila that makes it so that he can hear what women think. But he says that there will be some side effects. And one of the side effects, apparently, is that he sees a ghost named Hector who has decided that one of the girls in their group looks like his long-lost love and that he needs to steal her soul and take her to hell. And then
Joey Lawrence can't share
hell.
this tequila with anybody because clearly that will fuck things up. And, of course, the first thing that happens is it gets stolen out of his back pocket or whatever.
He gets accidentally made very drunk by Tina, who is basically a great value Selma Hayek. And that's
but they have so there are at least, excluding Joey Lawrence, there are 3 people in this movie that I immediately recognized from other things.
Me too, dude.
All right, person number 1.
Yeah.
She hasn't seen her boyfriend in 6 hours.
Yeah, the girl from Can Hardly Wait is one of the 3 girls.
Yep.
Number 2.
Oof. The guy who plays the dorky
the film
student. I know him. I don't know if you know him from this, but I know him from being on Supernatural as God for like 10 years.
So I did see that credit, but for me, he's the guy who can't pee in Waiting.
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
that's
He's the
right.
nervous peer in
saw
Waiting.
I looked him up on IMDb because I was like, that face is very familiar, and it was like Supernatural. Oh my god! But I was like, I don't remember him from Waiting. But yep, he played the exact same character in that movie.
And then I believe I saw this correctly. I think another one of the girls, maybe even the main girl, is one of Kevin McAllister's sisters in Home Alone.
Wow.
Tamlin.
Yeah.
Tamlin, who wears a sweater that looks like a doily for most of the movie. It looks like a fucking
But
doily from my
Oh, you don't think
grandma's
that's
house.
sexy?
Yeah, dude, hot as
That's
fuck.
your whole plot line. Like, that's everything. They go to hell and the day is saved. And
Dude,
it
when
has
they
a
go to
really
hell,
dope-
all they did was just make it blue toned. They
yeah,
just put
I
a
wrote,
filter on.
oh,
It's
hell is just
fantastic.
Sepatone. Got
Yeah,
it. Like,
it's
great.
It's just, it's so, this movie is so infuriatingly cheap. All of the
Yes.
characters
It
are
is
awful.
the cheapest movie we've ever watched. And we
Wait,
watched
okay, so
Terror
has-
Tunes.
Did anybody see the budget to box office ratio?
No, because
There was
there's
a box
nothing
office?
anywhere on the internet for this movie.
No. So I don't. So again, I'm gonna do a little bit of comparison to The Convent because we talked about how that was like $500,000, right? And we sung its praises.
Yeah.
This movie was $1.7 million.
Whoa.
What?
Its box office $9,000. $9,000.
So
Maybe I'm rounding down. It could have been like 9.8.
That's like what
But-
I pay more in taxes, you know?
No fucking shit, right? Like I'm like, oh my god, and I'm flabbergasted. I think what did it for me was this film student character. So clearly, this director or whoever went to a film program and was like, I'm better than all these fucks, so I'm gonna go ahead and put a character in here
fun of
that
my-
is making you correct, like completely. Like I'm gonna go and make a $1.7 million movie with Joey Lawrence, and it's gonna be great. And don't worry about it. Like all these film school fucks that are gonna go continue to wait tables, which is just the attitude
No.
that this movie has against
so here's the
everybody.
one thing-
Film students,
here's the one
women,
thing I wanna say.
Mexicans. It's bad.
I want to say that this director did not do much after this.
Surprise.
He kind of vanished. He came back in 2021, and he did make a documentary. And I do think this is a very important documentary that he made. I haven't seen it, but I think it's an important documentary. Is he made a documentary called "The Race Epidemic," and the description is the race epidemic is about the other outbreak that was caused by COVID-19. The epidemic of racism against Asian Americans. And basically his entire film career since, and he is an Asian filmmaker, has been making these documentaries very closely. He put out a second one last year called American Success. That was a documentary about all of the Asian American entrepreneurs and leaders sharing their wisdom about success stories in America. So he's kind of, over the last 20 years of doing nothing, has really kind of started making movies that matter because, god damn it, does Tequila Body Shots not matter one fucking bit.
Also, doesn't that make this movie way more racist if he's not Mexican?
This movie's been racist from the second that it started. Even if it was
Yeah.
made by another Mexican guy, I'd be like, this is really harsh.
I feel like it would be harsh, but not racist. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, man, you got a shitty sense of humor, but it's like coming from a place of understanding,
It's-
maybe, but definitely not that way.
Yeah, I think what it comes down to is that this is a very 1999 movie. We're getting
Oh,
like
shit.
prison jokes. We're getting
yeah, the
bartender
vulgar farts are
Yeah.
just stupid.
Hold your
One of
horses,
the fact that
muchacha.
the fact that we're discussing a movie that one of my notes just says these fart noises though, like they're like standing
it's not
outside the
spookies.
car. Yeah,
know.
they're like standing outside the car and it's just like
Oh, bad fish tacos, man. It's like, oh my
like,
god.
what is happening?
Yeah,
I also
and
love
that's not
that
even the
one-
worst fart joke that is made. You're right. The bartender's fart joke is even worse. It's so many bad, like tasteless things rolled into one.
Almost no jokes
interaction.
work. There's a very
Find me
timely.
a joke that worked.
Well, so here's what I will say. First of all, there's a terrible joke towards the very end that is like, I'm sure at the time a very timely Mike Tyson biting an ear reference.
They bite both of they.
I'm like, Jesus Christ, this movie.
God.
But I would say that Ted, the film nerd, as much as I dislike him as a character, the guy sells the movie harder than anybody else does.
He is giving 1,000% to being.
And that's crazy because Erwin Keyes makes an appearance in this too. That's the other person who we forgot, Erwin Keyes. No, but he does. He really sells this whole movie because it's like the group of main friends, the guy in the Arby's hat, or Joey Lawrence, or
the
Lance
guy
Bass.
that I knew exactly what this movie was as soon as I saw that fucking trilby.
They do nothing. Nothing.
Yeah,
and neither do the women, really. They're
Every
infuriating.
character is like the thing that's the most infuriating thing about this movie is that you create these characters, and the only reason to deal with these obnoxious characters is for them to be bodies that are killed by something. There's no body count in this movie. None.
No,
like
they all
everybody
survive.
gets away. Everybody survives. Even Ted, who sacrifices himself, gets ejected from hell for being too annoying. Like,
now, did he really sacrifice himself, or was he just like, I just want to stay down here and mack on this demon girl? And he's like,
I mean, I
Joey Lawrence was
assume
like,
that it was kind of a vibe of like, look, it's not going to get much better up there. At least it seems like I got a chance here.
It's
but
shot like an episode of Walker, Texas Ranger.
Yes.
The whole movie looks like a fucking episode of Walker, Texas Ranger.
It really does.
He has
Holy
a couple
shit.
lines that I don't think are funny, but they got the tiniest smirk from me because they're so dumb. First, he tries to see if they all want to go see a porn with him, and they're like making fun of him about it. He goes, well, hey, do you guys want to get like a latte tonight or something? Which is just such like I'm just like, shut the fuck up, Squeak. Like that's like all I can think. In that, but the line that killed me is when he's walking the girl back to her door and he goes, I'm a diehard, devoted Star Wars fan, but I haven't thought about Star Wars once since I met you. You have that much force. And I was like, what a fucking cheesy, awful line. And my favorite part, so he gets possessed by Hector.
Yeah. Oh, but when he's like fighting with Hector, that is actually the best part of the movie.
It's
like,
the best acting that anybody
personalities.
does in this movie. He's flipping on a dime, and like they talk about. I've been listening to a lot of Simpsons commentary tracks lately, and they talk about how impressive it is to go to the Simpsons script readings, which I guess anybody can go to. If you live in LA, you can just like it's just kind of first come first serve. Once the room's full, it's full. But if you're willing to like stand outside for a couple hours, you can watch the table read of like a script. And they said, like, for the most part, it is just 6 actors. Many of them, like the guy who voices Mr. Burns and Smithers is the same guy. Mm-hmm. And you just watch him have a full conversation between 2 characters by himself, quickly changing voices and, like, not missing
That's
a beat.
wild. Yeah.
And, like, Ted does this. Like, him, like, battling between himself and Hector is so quick.
It's good.
And it's really well done. But when they first spot Ted, I had to write this down. Ted is dancing with Tina, and there's this huge party going on, and they're like, hey, look, there's Ted, and he's dancing with Tina. But no one seems to call out this bizarre painting of what seems to be an overweight skeleton that's also directly behind them. And I was like, why is that there if not to be mentioned by a character?
Because I don't think that was intentional. I think that they like paid a crap ton of money to rent that space to shoot for 2 nights.
Yeah.
And they're just
It
like,
literally
whatever
looks
you
like
got.
if you must rewatch the scene and look at the painting, because it literally looks like there's just a normal painting and someone just pasted a skull face over the face of the person in the painting for like, oh, it's a Halloween thing. The hardest I laughed in this entire movie happens in the first 10 minutes of the movie. It is the most ridiculous thing. It will probably be the TikTok clip because I need people to see this moment. So when they first meet these 3 girls, they're at a bar and they get into a fight with the girl's like abusive boyfriend or whatever.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then they run for it. And it is a static shot, and it's the girls, and they run into the car, and they run from the bar to the car and say, let's speed off before this psycho catches up to us. And then as soon as they close the door, he just pops up from the ground where they just ran from to reach into the car. And I was like, how did they not?
He Mortied them.
They literally had to have stepped on him to get into the car.
What I'm saying.
Man, okay.
That's two Kyle picks in a row
I
right
have
there.
a fucking type. I have a type. For those who are keeping score at home, I also now pick movies where the enemy or the killer just pops up. He's just ready and there.
Yeah.
The scare is there.
There is one other scene that we have to mention in the realm of like so bad it's good, which is the CGI effect of Joey Lawrence going to hell and turning into a screaming skeleton face.
So good.
Dude.
So good.
Insane.
That's what they spent half their budget on.
Yeah, I mean, if this movie spent a lot on that little transition scene, and he's like, I knew an effects guy who could do. I know a computer guy who could do this. It's like,
he was basically like, a moonlighting as a CGI guy. He had just like the very basic understanding.
Yes.
And like,
yeah, and it's like, no, I got
MS
this.
Paint it. Yeah.
So we get towards the end of this movie, and I watched the first hour of this movie by myself. Someone came over and watched the last 30 minutes.
Was it before
with
Weird
me.
Ass Movie Night?
No, this was
bummer.
today. And the person who was here with me pointed out at the very end, that's not how you do a body shot.
No.
No.
It's not.
Oh my
whatever
God.
Joey
I love
Lawrence
the fact
does.
that Matt doesn't know how to do a body shot.
Well, no. I mean, I would have also, because I've seen enough movies where usually a belly button is involved.
Yeah.
But I was like,
that's
what the fuck is this?
It's not. That's the thing that I don't understand is that
he licked salt off of her neck and then baby birded alcohol into her mouth, and
that's
that
not a
apparently
body
was
shot
the
at all.
body shot.
No. Here's the
While
the
a sensual Spanish guitar plays underneath
That
the
is
scene like
flamenco,
it's the sexiest
man.
part.
That is
Oh my
flamenco
God.
music. But listen, my headcanon is now such that I believe that there are a small demographic of people out there that were so closed off from public interaction that they spent years thinking that that's how you did a body shot from watching
No
this
doubt.
movie. So
No doubt.
like, 2015 rolls up and they finally go to a party and somebody's like, let's do shots. And they're like, let's do body shots. And then they're like really offending people because they're like, what the fuck? You're not going to lick my belly button for this?
Yeah, you're just going to lick my neck and spit alcohol into my mouth.
I will
That's
honestly take
the
a
fucking
nasty
crazy
belly
thing,
button.
because
link.
like, think about how many teen sex comedies like did something like that, where you're like, oh my God,
this is
that's
a teen
what...
sex comedy.
Right, exactly.
That's why
exactly.
I
I mean,
the
this
worst
is
caliber.
this is the bare. Well, no, I've picked something next week that will be the bare minimum of what constitutes a horror movie.
Yeah,
but this
no.
is just barely a horror movie as well. I was like, I was explaining when the person showed up and I was an hour into the movie. I'm like, I'm watching this for horror movie night. Nothing horror has happened.
And they're like, why? But here's the thing is that watching this and seeing it as a teen comedy, because it had the girl that is one of the ditzy friends and Can't Hardly Wait.
You are so Gwyneth.
Yeah, so Gwyneth, but totally prettier. But here's the thing about it is that watching this movie, seeing it as a teen comedy, made me have a way less terrible time than waiting for it to become a horror movie. Now, I'm not saying by any stretch of the imagination that I enjoyed the watch. I was not angry with Kyle at all when I was watching it because I was like, okay, I also kind of pushed you into this because I was like, oh my God, that's a Dia de los Muertos movie. You should pick that. And that was in Slack.
Makes total sense.
It was in front of people on the Patreon. And so it was peer pressure. So it's my fault as much as yours for picking that up for $1.
Well, and you've pressured me to do a body shot live here on the Patreon off of my own belly button, which is unfortunately an Audi, so I don't know how it's gonna work. No, but I do have a little bit of tequila to just go with tequila body shots. It's a Zicaro Pachuga Mole Mezcal. So Pachuga, little alcohol education. Pachuga tequila or mezcal is when they roast a chicken over the tequila, and the chicken drippings fall into the tequila itself, into the mezcal. So mezcal is by nature smoky, but then you have this savory flavor with it too. And on top of that, you throw a bunch of mole spices in there, and it's fascinating.
Have you tasted it yet?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And this is our second bottle here in the house.
Wow. I am never visiting. You're going to feed me some. Between this and the fucking Jaeger and a Dino cup, you are so sus.
Well, I know
when
what you're drinking, so you're not going to drink the Pachuga.
No,
you
I'm
can't.
not. But I have a margarita because I was like, I am not doing a. I'm absolutely not doing a shot of tequila. It is a weeknight. And I do not want to feel ill. But so I made myself. But I also made it with the cheapest ingredients we had. So it's like a very, very cheap margarita. So it tastes exactly like what they had in this movie. If I had a little bit more foresight, I would have gone and got a Dos Equis because I would have just spent the entire episode choking the neck of the Dos Equis like Joey Lawrence because he's never held a fucking beer bottle before in his life.
Nuts. Yeah, it's nuts.
But Kyle, do it.
Feel like
do it. No, this is a sipping mezcal.
You said you're gonna do a body shot.
Well, yeah, but I don't have a belly button for it.
Someone get Carly Tabby.
Get Hunter.
Carly's gonna be mad. She has the deepest belly button I've ever seen.
Oh no! You're so lucky that she doesn't listen to our podcast.
She doesn't listen to any podcast.
Her belly button can get me so much drunker than yours, Matt.
Yeah. And I love her belly button. It's my favorite thing. We don't do body shots out of it, but
it's more like a keg.
She's gonna fucking punch you in the dick, Matt.
Hey, welcome to Unstable Topics, a fast-paced, jam-packed, unhinged bestie podcast filled with facts, reacts, and made-up games in between.
We're your hosts, Sarah
and Maggie.
And we're excited for you to join our best friend hangout, where we surprise one another with things we find interesting or hilarious just to see how the other will react.
Our friendship might be totally stable, but you never know what your bestie might throw your way to knock you off your game.
So come shake things up, learn something new, and laugh along with us. This is Unstable Topics.
We'll just move on. So, double features. Kyle, you picked this. What would you double feature
I
this
actually
with?
mentioned it earlier, but I think The Convent is a great double feature. I think that, both are from 99.
It would save the night, for sure.
It would certainly save the night. Both have an interesting energy about, really cheap filmmaking. I think The Convent would be a blast afterwards. Also, it might save the day because it's a Hispanic filmmaker.
Perfect.
So,
Mike Mendez, right?
Perfect. Yes. Yeah.
And a shorter movie.
Yeah. We'll survive.
I love that.
How about you, Scott?
I'm sorry, Matt. I'm gonna take Coco.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I've got something else.
I was like, what are the
almost took
Dia de los
Coco.
Muertos horror movies? There are none. It's the reason why we've never done this. But hell yeah, Coco is a good movie. So I'll watch that.
Coco's great.
So this is the thinnest connective tissue, but right around the point that Joey Lawrence goes to hell to save everybody, I thought, man, I wish I was watching Frighteners when Michael J. Fox kills himself so that he can go save everybody. So I'd much rather watch Frighteners, a movie that's longer than this one, but somehow moves quicker.
Crazy how that happens.
All right, well, everybody loves the new segment that we all know and love called What's Going On? I've only got two quick ones later on this month. Actually, on Black Friday, two things will be happening. Thing number one, keep an eye on all of the Horror Movie Night socials because we will be posting our Survey Monkey list for you to vote on what will be either the first movie of 2024 or the last movie of 2023, depending on how it shakes out on our calendar. So look out for that. That survey will literally just be running Friday to Sunday. So follow us on Instagram at HMN Podcast or join the Facebook group, which is always bumping. Or, let's be real, join the Patreon, patreon.com/HMN Podcast. And
that's how you'll get a copy of Tequila Body Shots, by the way.
Ooh,
nice. I'm only giving it to Patreon members.
While you're subscribing to stuff and signing up for some stuff, go follow the Geekscape YouTube or Twitch or Facebook pages because on Black Friday, we will be celebrating 4 years of One Hit Thunder with a big-ass live stream event. Very cool. Come and check it out. One of my favorite episodes that we do every year is when Chris and I look at all of the like 48 to 49 songs that we've covered in the previous year, and we rank them from best to worst. And this year we're doing it live with a rotating group of some of the most frequent guests on the show to help us decide the rankings along with the audience. So if that sounds fun, tune into that. Time TBD, but we're looking at about 6-ish Eastern Standard on Black Friday. So
Very cool.
check that out. And now, finally, what did we watch? Kyle, what did you watch this week?
I watched De Palma's Body Double for the first time.
So you almost watched Double Indemnity.
I did. Very close. Body Doubles, I mean, besides De Palma being a piece of shit and misogynist, it's really great filmmaking. Like, it looks awesome. There's a lot of melodrama. There's a lot of and it's because it involves sort of actors, you know, both in the Hollywood setting and then also in the adult industry setting. So you have this melodrama, and then you're like not sure if it's like a dream or a setup or any. It's I'm not gonna completely explain it, but it also because I was admittedly a little confused. I was just like kind of in awe of how it looked. And then I was like, oh, I really don't like any of these people. I don't like how he's portraying any of these people. Like, but fuck, does it look cool. So I enjoyed that part of it. It's one of those movies, it's like, you have those auteur directors or those directors that have, you know, a lot of films under their belt that people... There's a vast majority or a vast array of people who will be like, that's my favorite De Palma film, and it'll be different than everybody else's. Like, nobody's like, this is clearly the winner, right? So,
except for Phantom.
I think you're wrong. Yeah, I was about to say it's Phantom of the Paradise.
except for when you're right and it's Phantom of the Paradise. Yeah. But you know, unfortunately,
he's
people
one
who
of
are
those
wrong
directors.
have,
It's the same as like someone trying to pick a favorite, say Quentin Tarantino film, or even like a John Carpenter film, as we've talked about. Like, there are these filmmakers who've just made so many important movies that pinpointing the one is really tough.
Right. So I felt compelled to watch it. I was also like, you know, erotic thrillers are so interesting. There's a documentary that I really want to pick up about like the history of erotic thrillers, particularly like the ones that are like direct to video and sort of the boom that happened.
Kyle, I gotta tell you again, you must remember this. Check out the current season. It's all about erotic thrillers. Today's episode was literally about Wild Things and Cruel Intentions.
That's right.
So,
that's right. No,
definitely they did a whole episode on body.
I
on body
fucking love Cruel Intentions, as we've talked about here. Actually, that's a movie I considered picking for maybe a Patreon. I can't quite remember.
Yeah. Why not?
Okay.
It's sleazy.
Sleazy
it's
as
sleazy
shit, dog.
but cheesy.
It's great.
But all right, Scott, how about you? What have you been checking out?
I watched the new alien survival movie, No One Will Save You. On
I've heard
Hulu.
it's great.
I really enjoyed it.
It's essentially a silent movie, right? Like there's no dialogue or something?
I think that there are maybe 15 lines, maybe 10 lines in the entire movie. There are maybe 3 scenes with actual lines, I'd say. It is a great script. I really liked the ending. The CGI obviously wasn't for me, but and I'm not really an alien invasion movie guy, but I set that aside because it's more or less like a single actor just in the entire movie, and her facial expressions are great, and her physical acting is great. You piece together the story, you know, pretty well. And it's just I think it's a great screenplay, and I think it's a good movie. I highly recommend it to anybody.
Yeah, that's on my. I think I'm going to watch that this week. But instead of watching an alien invasion movie, I rewatched a classic haunted house movie last night. And texted you guys about it. I posted a thread about it. I rewatched Poltergeist, and I still think Poltergeist is great. A movie.
The one about the chicken?
the sequel of which got mentioned in this movie, Tequila Body Shots. They make
Yeah,
a
that's
Poltergeist
right.
2
I wrote
reference.
down a Poltergeist 2
Poltergeist 2,
reference.
yeah.
I don't. It wasn't
Yeah.
like a ref. They just
Which
mentioned.
we need to do Poltergeist 2. I can't believe we haven't, just for
The braces
the
scene.
tequila worm and the fucking braces scene alone.
We
like,
need to have Brian back for that, though, because Brian has said he will come back to do that movie.
All right. Well, we'll make sure that we make that work.
Brian.
But watching the first Poltergeist, it pulled me back into the whole debate of like who directed this movie. And I was reading all the different arguments from like Mick Garris had some opinion, like threw in some stuff. Half the actors are like Toby directed it. Zelda Rubinstein was like Steven Spielberg directed me. I don't know what you're talking about. So, what it sounds like to me is that it was more of a situation of personality types, that Toby Hooper is just a very easygoing guy. So if something was an emergency or a question was brought up, he maybe wasn't giving an answer quickly enough, and then Steven Spielberg would just kind of be the like, oh, I'll just do it type person. But when I'm watching, I suggest anybody who's not sure if they think Toby Hooper directed that movie, watch the entire sequence where the tree comes to life and Carol Ann gets sucked into the closet, and that thing has so many awkward angles and bizarre close-ups and like the stuff that really makes you think of the best parts of the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that like there's not a doubt in my mind. Specifically, they're looking for Carol Ann after they've freed the son from the tree that was eating him, and they go and they're diving into this muddy water searching where the pool's supposed to get built to see if she's in there. And it's just an absolute close-up of this boy covered in mud and filth and grime as terror is just slowly growing on his face, and it's just lit by a flickering television, and like he can barely get a word out. He's like trying to whisper mom. Like he's so terrified. And I'm like, Steven Spielberg has never in his entire career shot something that looks like that, like ever.
There you
But I've
go.
seen a shit ton of Tobe Hooper movies that are shot like that. So I'm firmly in the like, that's a Tobe Hooper movie with clearly co-written by Steven Spielberg. It has Steven Spielberg story beats all over it, but from the camera shots and stuff, that is a Hooper movie if I've ever seen one. So there's my 2 cents. And get more of my 2 cents when we ask, is this even a horror movie, next week on Horror Movie Night?
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.